Hello everyone, I am Kenshin, welcome to Speaking History. The historical mystery to be revealed today is the assassination of former Swedish Prime Minister Palme. Please take a moment to subscribe, like, comment, share, and please turn on the notification bell, thank you. In May 2024, apart from Russia's sudden fierce attack on Kharkov, Ukraine, the big news that shocked Europe was the shooting of Slovak Prime Minister Robert Fico on the 15th. He was shot several times and was rushed to the hospital for emergency treatment, and his life is currently in danger. Local media captured the scene at the time of the incident. Fico was seen going to the area where the public was located under the protection of several bodyguards, and was only separated from the public by a row of low iron fences. Unexpectedly, 71-year-old gunman Juraj Cintula took advantage of Fico shaking hands with the crowd and fired 5 shots at him at close range. Fico fell to the ground immediately after being shot, and a bodyguard rushed to the back of the gunman and hooked his neck, while others went up to take the gun. After being shot, Fico was quickly lifted onto a car by several security personnel. His official Facebook and the Slovak government office confirmed earlier that Fico was airlifted to a hospital in Banská Bystrica for rescue due to multiple gunshot wounds. But in fact, such head of state assassination incidents are not uncommon in world history. I don't know if any friends remember, Kenshin talked about the assassination of US President Kennedy before. That should be the most well-known national leader assassination event in the world. But the same thing actually happened in Sweden. That was the assassination of the Swedish Prime Minister that happened 36 years ago. I believe most friends don't know this former Swedish Prime Minister, so let me introduce him first. Olof Palme, born on January 30, 1927, came from a well-off family. His father was the general manager of an insurance company. He joined the Social Democratic Party in 1950 and later became an active figure in the party. He entered the cabinet in 1963 and successively served as the head of many departments. He was most famous when he served as Minister of Education. In 1968, he repeatedly condemned the US invasion of Vietnam and even took to the streets to demonstrate with the Vietnamese ambassador to the Soviet Union, Nguyen Suu Kyi, making headlines in newspapers. However, he was asked by the Swedish Parliament, which advocated strict neutrality, to resign as minister. He was indeed a very courageous person. But the following year, in 1969, he became Prime Minister, becoming the youngest Prime Minister in Europe at the age of 42. He served as Prime Minister again in 1982, and the assassination case we are going to talk about happened during his second term. In the eyes of the Swedish people, he was a people-friendly, easygoing, unpretentious, good Prime Minister. He often reminded himself to live as much like an ordinary person as possible, and did not want to create a gap with the people because of the position of Prime Minister. You can always see him on the street, said Swedish ethnologist Jonas Engman. If you meet him, you can talk to him casually, because he always gives a sense of kindness. He didn't like to bring bodyguards when he went out on a daily basis, and even on the day of the assassination, only his wife was with him. On the night of February 28, 1986, at 11 o'clock that day at the Grand Cinema in Stockholm, Sweden, after the premiere of the new movie, The Mozart Brothers, he and his wife walked out of the cinema with other moviegoers. After watching the movie, the Rose and Green couple, leaders of the Swedish White Collar Union, said goodbye to the Prime Minister and his wife and left by car. The second son, Martin, and his girlfriend said goodnight to their parents and left. The Palme couple, as usual, did not bring bodyguards and chose to stroll home along the main street. After passing a few blocks, when they came to Sveavägen Street in the center of Stockholm, a figure flashed out of the darkness and fired 2 shots at him from a few meters away. A bullet hit his back and he fell to the ground on the spot, and his wife was also injured and couldn't get up. It was 11:30 at midnight. Just passing by, taxi driver Dalsburn, after hearing the gunshots, immediately stopped the car and found Palme lying on the snow-covered sidewalk, surrounded by a pool of blood. He reported to the police through the car's intercom and contacted the ambulance. At the same time, 2 17-year-old female medical students who stopped the car after hearing the gunshots, hurriedly got out of the car and saw that Palme's breath was weak, and they hurriedly performed CPR, that is, massaging the heart. From the moment of the assassination, Sweden was plunged into extreme chaos. In an emergency, the police and medical staff expressed shock when they reported the situation to each other. What? Our Prime Minister was shot? No, I don't believe it. Is it really Olof Palme who was assassinated? In less than 4 minutes, police cars and ambulances arrived one after another, and the Prime Minister and his wife were sent to the nearby Sabbatsberg hospital. The situation at the time was that Palme was shot in the chest and lower abdomen, and his wife was lightly injured by a bullet scraping her back. After half an hour of rescue, Palme was declared dead due to a 9mm bullet piercing his chest and a main artery in his heart being cut off, causing excessive blood loss. He bid farewell to the world at the age of 59. But the killer who took advantage of the night successfully escaped and disappeared. We all know that Sweden, located in Northern Europe, has always adhered to the principle of military non-alignment. It has not been involved in any wars since 1814. Even since the assassination of Gustav III in 1792, there has never been a similar assassination event until the gunshot of Palme's assassination broke Sweden's 204 years of peace and tranquility. This made the people of the country unbelievable. The Prime Minister of the country, which has always been neutral, does not involve in wars, and is even the hometown of the Nobel Prize, would actually be assassinated. After the police arrived that day, they immediately sealed off the scene and surrounding blocks, and quickly controlled airports, docks, and stations, strictly checking all passengers. The police analyzed the situation at the scene and concluded that the assassin was an experienced professional killer. The process of the crime took less than a minute, and almost no traces were left for evidence. All the police's evidence was only 2 9mm armor-piercing bullets. At that time, the police did not find this type of bullet in the Swedish arsenal, and then sent the bullet to the United States and Germany for assistance in identification. So who is the killer? On the night of Palme's assassination, an anonymous person called the Swedish Express and said that it was an organization called PNK that did it. On the same night, the Swedish embassy in the Federal Republic of Germany received a call. We are the Red Army faction and have killed Palme. But according to the analysis, unlike the Red Army faction's usual practice of issuing a detailed written bulletin to explain the motive of the action after the action, this time they did not do so. Whether the Red Army faction is the real killer, the Swedish and West German police cannot confirm. A Turkish newspaper once speculated that the Kurdistan Workers' Party, headquartered in Damascus, Syria, might be related to this matter. Yes, it is the reason why Turkey obstructed Finland and Sweden's entry into NATO this time, recognizing the Kurdistan Workers' Party as a terrorist organization. As for the reason for the report, Palme once refused to accept a leader to take refuge in Sweden. But the Kurdistan Workers' Party quickly denied it, and the Swedish police also believed that there was no solid evidence for this statement. In addition, the Swedish police once suspected that Croatian separatists might be involved, but the problem is that there is no evidence. Not long afterwards, the Swedish news agency received an anonymous letter claiming, the European Socialist Alliance successfully executed Palme on February 28. The letter was signed by Hitler, the leader of the Nazi Scandinavia region. According to the intelligence provided by the West German police at the time, this was a new Nazi organization that only shouted slogans, and did not have the ability to complete the assassination. It is a mouth cannon organization that rubs the heat, just like the government of a certain wall country. However, during the Cold War between the United States and the Soviet Union at that time, the Soviet Union implied in film and television that the Palme assassination incident was related to the CIA in the United States, and the United States, who was splashed with dirty water, immediately protested. Even the first president of Iran, Barney Sadr, who once followed Khomeini and was later hunted down by Khomeini, claimed that the assassination was ordered by the Khomeini government of Iran. He stated, "I learned from a very reliable Iranian and independent person that he would be assassinated because Palme knew that some Swedish companies were buying arms for Iran and wanted to investigate it. Khomeini, who was afraid of the truth being exposed, decided to take action first, but it was still unconfirmed. Since then, this assassination has become a pending case in Swedish history. On March 15, his funeral was held in the Blue Hall of Stockholm City Hall. At that time, the Swedish King Carl XVI Gustaf broke the past practice and participated in the funeral of the Prime Minister of his country for the first time and gave a painful speech. Sweden lost a voice that everyone listens to, a passionate public voice against violence and oppression. On that day, representatives of 132 countries and international organizations, and more than 1,000 leaders of all parties in Sweden and people from all walks of life attended his funeral, including French President Mitterrand, Chairman of the Soviet Council of Ministers Reichkov, West German Chancellor Kohl, Indian Prime Minister La. Gandhi and other national leaders. It can be said to be the highest sorrow, but this is not what Palme wants. On June 10, 2020, the first year of the epidemic, the Swedish prosecutor publicly announced the termination of the 34-year investigation into the assassination of former Prime Minister Olof Palme, because the prosecutor believed that the suspect had died in 2000. Chief Prosecutor Krista Peterson said at a press conference that he confirmed that the person who assassinated Palme that year was Stig Engstrom, an employee of an insurance company, but this person died in 2000, so I decided to terminate the investigation. But is this person really the killer? Even if it is true, there is no evidence to death, and the instigator behind it cannot be found, all of which are buried in the unopened darkness. Actually, Sweden has another potential future prime minister who was assassinated. That was Anna Lindh. In 1998, she was appointed as the Minister of Foreign Affairs by Prime Minister Göran Persson. Many people in Sweden believed that she would be the next prime minister. However, in 2003, Sweden held a referendum on whether to use the euro. Lindh supported Sweden's joining the eurozone. 4 days before the referendum, on September 10, she was assassinated by a Serbian immigrant man with mental illness while shopping in a department store in downtown Stockholm. She passed away the next day. Of course, whether someone was instructed is a mystery, and it is difficult to have an answer. Returning to the present, Fico, who was once a member of the Communist Party, is known for his pro-Russian and anti-Ukrainian stance and is considered a populist. Last September, after his Slovak Direction Party won the general election, he became the prime minister again. However, he was once embroiled in a corruption scandal, and he had previously made remarks calling on Kiev to cede territory to Russia to end the war. As for the gunman who committed the murder, it was Juraj Cintula, an opposition figure and a member of the Progressive Party. In 2005, he co-founded a literary club with others and led the operation of the club until 2016. This time Cintula used a legally registered pistol to commit the crime. Cintula's son revealed that his father legally held a gun license and claimed that he had no idea about his father's intentions. What do you think about these two Swedish assassination cases? If you can, please leave your comments for discussion.